Oliver pulled out a dare. Kiss passionately the person you like for 2 minutes. Amid the cheers and teasing of our friends, he stood up and started walking toward me. At that moment, we were not on good terms. Nervous and shy, I closed my eyes without knowing what to do. But Oliver leaned closer and let out a cold laugh by my ear. "Do you really want me to kiss you, Alicia? What a pity, I'm already sick of you." Then he turned around and kissed a beautiful first-year student. In that instant, I suddenly realized I no longer loved him. The next day, I applied to study abroad and accepted the engagement my parents had arranged for me. On his birthday, without looking back, I boarded a flight to another country. By the time the plane landed, my phone was about to explode with all his calls. Chapter 1. When Oliver drew his dare, he was already tipsy from the alcohol. One of his mischievous friends grabbed the slip of paper and read it aloud on purpose. "Kiss someone you like for 2 minutes." Instantly, everyone turned toward me, cheering and laughing. Tonight's gathering had been organized by Oliver himself. We had been distant for more than a month, locked in a cold war. In the past, it was always me who swallowed my pride to reconcile. But this time, I don't know why, I had stubbornly refused to give in. I thought we would keep waiting in that tense silence. Unexpectedly, Oliver had called today to invite me. I felt nervous and my fingers instinctively clutched the hem of my skirt. By then, Oliver was already on his feet. The girls near me laughed and nudged me playfully. "Alicia, your boyfriend is coming to kiss you." A quiet happiness began to stir inside me. I lifted my gaze toward Oliver. He was wearing the white shirt I loved, the collar slightly undone. With the alcohol in his system, his eyes seemed especially passionate. My cheeks flushed instantly, and I lowered my head, gripping my skirt tighter, my palms damp with sweat. When I looked up again, Oliver was already standing in front of me. "Alicia," he called. He leaned toward me, his voice soaked with intoxication, soft and warm. I was so nervous, I didn't know what to do, too timid to meet his eyes. As he leaned in to kiss me, I shut mine hurriedly, overwhelmed with anxiety. Chapter 2. But the kiss I had been waiting for never came. Instead, I felt his warm breath brush against my ear, accompanied by a mocking chuckle. "So desperate for me to kiss you? Just a month without touching you, and you can't take it anymore, Alicia?" My eyes flew open. Oliver had already straightened up, a cold and disdainful smile tugging at his lips. His gaze, sharp and icy, reflected only indifference and contempt. In that moment, I felt the blood rush to my head while my hands and feet went cold. I sat there stiff, staring at him in shock as he walked away. In the stunned silence of the room, Oliver approached a pretty girl from a lower year. "May I?" he asked. I knew she had always been in love with him, hinting at it countless times, openly and subtly. When I had shown jealousy before, he always brushed it off with indifference, saying he wasn't interested. But now, seeing her timid nod, he bent down without hesitation and kissed her. For the full 2 minutes, no more, no less. When it was over, Oliver even caressed her swollen lips, wiping away the lingering trace at the corner of her mouth. Chapter 3. The girls around me looked at me with sympathy and pity. Oliver shot me a glance of indifference before returning to his seat and grabbing the bottle of alcohol. "Why so quiet? This is just getting fun, keep playing." Someone tried to ease the tension. "Oliver, you should stop drinking, you're already pretty drunk." "Yeah, Oliver, Alicia looks like she's about to cry. You should comfort her." Oliver slumped lazily in his chair, utterly uninterested. "And why would I comfort her? Because she's still your girlfriend. What you did was wrong." "Who said she's still my girlfriend?" The mocking smile on Oliver's lips grew colder. "Didn't we break up a month ago?" I lowered my head and couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh. "Alicia, are you okay?" The girl next to me squeezed my hand in concern. I shook my head. "I'm fine. I'm leaving. You all enjoy." I stood and walked toward the door. Behind me, I heard the sweet voice of the new girl. "Did Senior Alicia get mad?" "Leave her," Oliver replied carelessly as he ordered another drink. "Let's keep drinking." "Oliver, this time Alicia really seems upset." I didn't stop. I opened the door and stepped out. Just before it closed behind me, I caught his indifferent voice. "And what does that have to do with me? Doesn't she always get mad? And in the end, isn't she the one who comes crawling back?" And you still expect me to take her back? The door slammed shut, silencing him completely. I never got to hear his answer, but I no longer cared. Chapter 4. Back when I was dating Oliver, I had decided to stay in the country for graduate school. But now, going abroad sounded much better. I took some time to collect all the things I had left at Oliver's apartment and brought them back to my dorm. I didn't tell anyone about my plan to study overseas. Life became busy. There was too much to do. With time, I hardly thought of Oliver. Until one day in the university cafeteria, I ran into him and some of his friends. As always, he had a young, pretty girl clinging to his arm, but it wasn't the same one from last time. Alicia. Long time no see. Why don't you eat with us? One of his friends greeted me cheerfully. I smiled politely. Thanks, but I'm with my roommate. All right. Hey, tonight we're meeting at the usual spot. You coming? Instinctively, I glanced at Oliver. His expression was cold and unreadable, but he didn't interrupt his friend. Inside me there was only calm. I shook my head. No, thanks. I already have plans tonight. So dramatic for just a simple dinner, Oliver muttered suddenly, shooting them a cold look before walking off. His friends, a little embarrassed, apologized to me. I waved it off and went on my way. After dinner, when I returned to the dorm building, I ran into Oliver again. This time he was with his new girlfriend. She hung on his neck, trying to kiss him whenever she could, but his face only showed irritation. I walked past them without looking, ready to head inside. Then I suddenly heard his voice. Alicia. Chapter 5. My steps faltered for a moment, but I didn't stop. Oliver called again. Alicia, I'm talking to you. Didn't you hear me? He pushed the girl aside and walked straight toward me. What is it? I asked calmly, looking him in the eye. I need to ask you something. Go on. His new girlfriend clung to him, glaring at me with hostility. The cakes you used to buy me, where were they from? With a careless gesture, Oliver wrapped an arm around her and looked down at me arrogantly. My girlfriend loves cakes too. I want to buy them for her. I made them myself, I answered evenly. If you'd like, I can send you the recipe. Oliver frowned slightly. That's too much trouble. Just make me two yourself. Obviously, I'll pay you. I smiled faintly. Sorry, I don't have the time now. You don't have time or you don't want to? Oliver smirked sarcastically. Are you jealous? Suddenly, everything felt absurd. I didn't want to argue or waste words on nonsense. Think whatever you want. I sidestepped him and quickly went upstairs to the dorm. As soon as I entered, my roommate dragged me to the window. Down below, Oliver seemed to be arguing with his new girlfriend. A moment later, visibly annoyed, he shook off her hand and drove away. The girl stayed there crying for a long while before leaving with her head down. My roommate, still pressed to the window, said excitedly, Alicia, I think Oliver still loves you. He's just acting this way to make you give in first. I laughed and flicked her forehead. Girl, stop reading those toxic CEO novels. They're frying your brain. Chapter 6. Before, because I was in love with Oliver, I had firmly rejected the arranged marriage my family proposed. Now that they knew I was going abroad, they brought it up again. Uncle, can I think about it a little longer? Of course. If you want to keep studying, there's no rush to marry. But before you leave, you should meet him. Only if you like him will we continue. All right. I didn't want to reject their good intentions anymore. My two uncles had loved me like a daughter. Since my mother died and my father remarried, they had been the ones who cared for me the most. That night I had dinner with my best friend and took the chance to tell her about my plans to study abroad. Halfway through the meal, I went to the bathroom and saw that Oliver had called. Alicia, what about your stuff? I already moved everything back to my dorm. His voice was cold and flat. Since you moved out, you should have left the place clean. My girlfriend's coming tonight, and she was upset seeing your things. Sorry, I replied calmly. Then throw them away. Perfect. Don't regret it. The call ended abruptly. I stared at my reflection in the mirror, confused. I couldn't understand. If I no longer cared for the person, why would I care about the things? Chapter 7. I agreed to my uncle's request to meet the man before going abroad. But I never imagined the one who appeared would be someone I had to call uncle. Even my best friend was stunned. She grabbed my hand and whispered almost in a scream, "Alicia, your blind date is Ryan." Instinctively, I sat up straighter, my cheeks burning. I didn't know it would be him either. "I can't, Alicia, I'm scared. I have to make up an excuse to go to the bathroom." She let go of my hand at once. Ryan hadn't even reached the table before she jumped to her feet. "Uncle, I'll be right back. I need the bathroom." She even bowed politely before darting off like a rabbit, disappearing in an instant. "Uncle," I greeted softly, suddenly too embarrassed to look at him the way I used to. Ryan sat across from me. "What do you want to eat?" "Anything's fine. I'm not picky." He ordered a few dishes and asked, "Is this okay?" I glanced at the menu. They were all my favorite dishes. I was a little surprised and couldn't help but look at him. In my memory, Ryan had always been reserved, intimidating in presence, but today, dressed more casually, he seemed far more approachable. Still, I felt a little nervous and answered softly, "All right." After the waiter took the menu away, Ryan broke the silence. "Alicia, are you afraid of me?" Instinctively I nodded, then quickly shook my head, flustered. Before, I had only seen him from afar when he was with my uncles. Even when the adults talked, I just stood quietly, never interrupting. He wasn't much older, just from a higher generation. In fact, he was only 27. "And what do you think of me?" Ryan asked again. I froze for a moment. He gave me a faint smile. "Don't rush. You can take your time." I took a deep breath. "Uncle, Alicia," he interrupted, "you can call me by my name." I clenched my palm tightly, and after a long pause, I finally managed to whisper, "Ryan, I'm going abroad to study at least 2 years." "That doesn't matter," he replied calmly. "If you want, we can get engaged before you leave." "Why?" I asked in confusion. After all, a man like him had countless options for marriage. And I was just a girl without a mother, with a father who had built a new life, just a girl with a family, in name only. Ryan slid a glass of juice toward me. His long, steady fingers pressed lightly against the glass. They looked as if they had been carved from jade. I couldn't help but stare, mesmerized. After setting down the glass, Ryan gently brushed the top of my head. "Alicia," he said softly, "I don't want to frighten you. So, for now, let this be our secret." Chapter 8. 3 days before I left the country, Ryan and I got engaged in private. The day before my departure, Oliver suddenly called me. "Alicia, tomorrow's my birthday." While packing my suitcase, I answered absent-mindedly, "You know the place," Oliver added with his usual lazy tone. "I'm giving you a way out. Whether you take it or not is up to you." Before I could reply, he hung up. My uncle knocked on the door. "Alicia, Mr. Ryan is here to take you to dinner." I responded quickly and closed my suitcase. Oliver's call was already forgotten. Since I had a long flight the next day, Ryan didn't want to keep me out late. He drank a little wine at dinner. When we got out of the car, Ryan gently took my wrist. "Alicia." With a light tug, he pulled me toward him. The scent of wine mixed with the clean bitterness of cedar wrapped around me instantly. It was a presence completely different from Oliver's arrogant youth. Ryan had the mature charm of a man in full bloom. For a moment, I was dazed. Then Ryan lowered his head and pressed a gentle kiss against my lips. "Rest early," he whispered. "Tomorrow I'll take you to the airport." He brushed his thumb lightly over my lips. As my face flushed and I stood there lost, he leaned to my ear and murmured, "My Alicia, you truly live up to your name." Chapter 9. By 7 p.m., all the friends had already arrived. There was an empty seat beside Oliver. He hadn't brought a date. Everyone knew very well that seat was for Alicia. After all the drama, it was obvious to everyone. Oliver still loved Alicia. He was simply too proud, always waiting for her to give in first. "After tonight, you two should stop fighting. Seriously, what's the point of walking around all day like you've lost 8 million? When Alicia gets here, you'd better apologize properly." Oliver glanced lazily at the door. "I'm not apologizing. I'm already giving her a chance." "You're so stubborn. It's already late. Why hasn't Alicia come yet? Did you tell her clearly where it was, Oliver?" Oliver lowered his gaze and checked his watch. "If she wants to come, she'll come. I'm going to take a look outside." Oliver didn't stop him. He moved toward the window. The sky had already darkened. He looked down at the traffic below, wondering if the car he was waiting for had arrived. Suddenly he remembered his birthday last year. Back then, he and Alicia had been fine. She had given him a belt and a pair of cufflinks. She wore them almost every day. And the diamond earrings he had given her, she always wore them too. But that time, she had left them behind at the apartment and walked away without them. Oliver didn't know why, but a bitter tightness pressed against his chest. Just then, the door to the lounge swung open. Someone shouted excitedly, "Oliver, she's here, she's here." He turned sharply, feeling all the sorrow in his chest vanish in an instant. He knew perfectly well how much Alicia loved him. He knew she would come tonight. And if she came, this time, he would be the one to bow his head and beg for her forgiveness. Chapter 10. Oliver leaned casually against the window ledge, wearing his usual air of indifference, as if it didn't matter who walked through that door, as if deep down he expected nothing at all. But his arm braced against the wood was tense, and at some point his fingers had curled into a fist. A huge surprise. It's almost here. The newcomer was brimming with excitement, and the room instantly lit up with energy. A faint smile curved on Oliver's lips. He lowered his gaze and said coolly, "It's the same every year. What surprise could there possibly be? This time it's different, really." Outwardly, his face showed no excitement, but inside, waves of anticipation had already begun to rise. What kind of surprise would Alicia prepare for him? His friends were writhe had gone too far. That day he didn't even know what had come over him. He had kissed another girl right in front of Alicia. But the moment that kiss ended, he regretted it. If Alicia had shed even a single tear, he would have begged for forgiveness on the spot. But she hadn't. She had left in silence, without a word. Since then, Oliver had been acting out, changing girlfriends as if it meant nothing. Alicia must have suffered terribly. And yet she had prepared a birthday surprise for him. A sudden thought crossed his mind. That's it. It's her. He would stop playing games, and this time, he would be with Alicia for real. One of his friends nudged him lightly and whispered, "Get off your high horse already." Against all odds, Oliver nodded. His friend looked at him in surprise. "Did you really figure it out this time?" Oliver let out a small laugh. "Yes, for real. My God, this is historic. I admit I was an idiot before." Oliver said it while looking at his friend with absolute seriousness. "I've decided. I'm going to calm down. I'll be with Alicia the way she deserves, and I won't make her angry anymore." His friend smiled in relief. Finally, Alicia will be over the moon. It's not too late. Just as he finished saying that, 2 waiters came into the lounge, pushing a massive pink box tied with satin ribbons. Oliver froze in shock. His friend burst out laughing and shoved him forward. "What are you waiting for? Go on, open it. Let's see what surprise Alicia prepared for you." Oliver felt his heartbeat quicken. A strange anxiety surged within him. He was a man used to parties and scandals, yet now his palms were sweating. Could Alicia be inside? Was her surprise herself? Chapter 11. Oliver's mind was a mess. He had been dating Alicia for over 2 years. When she studied late for her postgraduate exams, she sometimes stayed at his apartment near campus. But they had never taken that final step. And truthfully, it had bothered him. Nearly all of their fights came from the same issue. He remembered one fierce argument especially while Alicia had cried her heart out. And he hadn't even tried to comfort her. He had only thought of his own selfish frustration. Now Oliver finally realized how much of a fool he had been. Alicia had no mother. Her father had remarried and built a new family, barely caring about her. If he had truly loved her, he would have understood her insecurities. He would have offered her commitment. A safe place. Her place. And then he decided why not propose marriage that very night? The thought brought him an odd sense of calm, as if deep down he had always been waiting for this moment. His friends crowded around, urging him toward the giant pink box. Oliver untied the satin bow. The lid sprang open, heart-shaped balloons flew into the air, and with them a girl in a pink outfit, a crop top, and matching mini skirt jumped out of the box, laughing and shouting with excitement. "Oliver." Surprise. She threw herself at him, her sugary perfume cloying, wrapping her arms around his neck and planting a loud kiss on his cheek. "Happy birthday, Oliver. Did you like it? Did you expect this?" She looked at him with shining eyes and a dazzling smile. Oliver didn't move. He stared at her in confusion. Since when was Alicia so outgoing? So flashy? Since when did her face look so unfamiliar, so unpleasant? 30 seconds passed. Then suddenly, everything became clear. When the girl leaned in again to kiss him, Oliver shoved her away. Oliver! She nearly fell to the ground. Bright light illuminated her face and her ears. 2 diamond earrings sparkled brightly. A sharp pain stabbed through Oliver's eyes. He immediately stepped forward and grabbed her arm, his face twisted with fury. Who gave you permission to wear these earrings? Who allowed it? The girl turned pale. You said they were ugly, that I should throw them away, but I thought they were pretty. I didn't want to take them off. She didn't move. Oliver gripped her arm tighter, his voice like ice. Will you take them off yourself, or should I do it for you? The room fell into a deathly silence. The only sound was the girl's stifled sobs. Trembling, she pulled off the earrings and hurled them at Oliver's chest. I want to break up with you, Oliver. Break up? Oliver let out a bitter laugh, clutching the earrings in his bleeding hand. When did we ever start? When did I say you were my girlfriend? She stared at him in shock, tears streaming. But you kissed me, hugged me, took me to your home, and so what? Oliver sneered cruelly. I've kissed many. Were they all my girlfriends? You bastard. Yes, I am. And now can you leave? Blood dripped between his fingers. The earrings had cut into his palm, but he refused to let go. That pain was the only thing keeping him sane. Alicia wasn't coming. And like a fool, he had been waiting. Waiting for her to appear. Waiting for her to bring him a birthday surprise. How pathetic. Chapter 12. The long flight finally ended. When I arrived in the foreign country, it was just sunset. Back home, it must have been around 3 or 4 in the morning. I turned on my phone and immediately, notifications started pouring in nonstop. It took a long while before it stabilized. Curious, I opened the screen. Almost all the messages and missed calls were from Oliver. I frowned, slightly surprised. Oliver had never been like this. Whenever we argued, if I didn't make the first move, he would never bother to reach out. Well, except to humiliate me in public. Thinking of that night now felt like something from another lifetime. I let out a quiet laugh, brushing off the unpleasant memories. Then the phone vibrated again, another call from Oliver. I didn't answer. He called again. Still, I ignored it. Between Oliver and me, there had never been deep hatred. Our family still had business ties, and I didn't want to turn him into a lifelong enemy. I only wished we could go back to being nothing more than acquaintances. But his persistence made it obvious he thought differently. And I was already engaged. I had to draw clear lines with men. I hung up, deleted his number, and blocked him. Soon after, another number flashed on the screen. It was a friend. I didn't answer either. Moments later, a message came through. Alicia, please, can you pick up? Yesterday was Oliver's birthday. Since you didn't come, he drank all night, and now he's in the hospital on 4 drips. You can tell he's really sorry this time. Alicia, why not give him another chance? I clenched my phone tightly in my hand. In the distance, Ryan's car was already waiting for me. Remembering his embrace before I left, my heart warmed. Ryan had promised to fly over every month to see me. He told me to focus on my studies, that I would never have to worry about rumors or betrayal with him. Thinking of Ryan filled me with an inexplicable peace. Without fear, without uncertainty. I thought for a moment and then answered. It's over. Please don't ever talk to me about him again. Thank you. I blocked the number and slipped my phone into my bag. Ryan's assistant came to collect my luggage. The driver opened the car door and greeted me respectfully. Miss, everything is ready. We'll take you home first. The car rolled through unfamiliar streets. I looked curiously out the window, the scenery all new, all full of promise. For the first time in a long while, I felt a genuine excitement for the life I was about to begin. Chapter 13. After replying to my friend's message that day, Oliver truly never called or wrote to me again. And I too forgot him quickly, devoting myself entirely to my studies and new life. A month later, Ryan came to visit me abroad just as he had promised. Strangely, although only a month had passed, when I saw him again, I felt an inexplicable shyness. And this despite the fact that when I left, he had embraced and kissed me at the airport. But now, with him standing before me again, I didn't even dare lift my gaze. When dinner was about to begin, Ryan stood and switched seats to sit beside me. Instantly, I tensed, sitting straight with my hands on my knees like a dutiful schoolgirl. Alicia. Ryan gently took my hand. My palm was hot and damp with sweat, but he held it firmly. Just 1 month without seeing me, and you're afraid of me again? I didn't know what to say. It was a strange feeling hard to describe. Then maybe I'll have to come twice a month, he teased. I turned my head quickly to look at him, and just then Ryan leaned in and kissed me. Alicia, I've missed you so much this month. His low, husky voice brushed against my lips. Instinctively, I tried to pull back, but his arms circled me, holding me gently in place. The kiss wasn't deep just like before, sweet and respectful, never invasive, never overwhelming. Instead, a delicious warmth spread through my chest, filling me with such tenderness it nearly stole my breath. It felt as if a silver spoon stirred crushed ice and honey, and that sweetness rippled outward in waves. Without realizing it, I clutched at the sleeve of his shirt, leaving wrinkled marks in the fabric. It wasn't until the waiter approached that Ryan finally ended the kiss. My face was so hot, I was sure it was completely red. But after that, as we spent more time together, I no longer felt the same timidness as before. After a little whine, I even dared to joke with him. Ryan, being with you feels so comfortable, so reassuring. Oh, how so? I propped my chin in my hand, looked at him for a few seconds, then let out a soft laugh. It's like being with my uncles, so relaxed, so safe, like I'm still a child. Ryan raised an eyebrow slightly and stroked my head. You are a child, Alicia. At your age, you should live without worries or restraints. And with me, you always can. Why? I looked at him in confusion, asking once more. Why me? Why commit to me? Why treat me so well? After my mother's death, I had learned the harsh truth that in this world, everything revolved around self-interest. And if I calculated, aside from the small inheritance my mother had left me, I had nothing of value to anyone. Least of all to someone like Ryan. Alicia, he said softly, when the day of our wedding comes, I'll tell you everything. He kissed my forehead tenderly and adjusted my scarf. Alicia, you've had enough to drink. Let's go home. Yes, Ryan, let's go home. Chapter 14. 3 days after Ryan returned to his country, I had just left the university library when I saw Oliver. The morning fog had lifted, the sun was shining, but the air was still cold. I wore a coat and scarf, yet the chill still seeped into my bones. Oliver, on the other hand, stood beneath a tree in only a thin coat. He looked thinner, perhaps from his long travels, and a little weary. Still, he was striking dazzling, even here in this foreign campus, inevitably drawing the eyes of passers-by. I hesitated for a moment, then clutched my books tightly to my chest and kept walking. I passed him without raising my head or looking at him. But Oliver called out to me. Alicia. He stepped forward and blocked my way. I didn't know how long he had been waiting there. The fog had dampened his hair and his eyes. I've been looking for you for a long time. I smiled faintly. What do you need? Why did you suddenly leave the country to study abroad? Why didn't you even tell me? If it's because of that night at the game, Alicia, I can apologize. Oliver grabbed my arm. I stepped back and pulled my hand away. That's the past. And, to be honest, I stopped caring long ago. Oliver frowned slightly. Then why did you leave? It was my decision. His frown deepened. Fine. You've gone, and that can't be changed. In that case, I'll just fly over to see you more often. I was a little surprised. You'll fly to see me? I'm the man. Of course it should be me who travels. Wait. I interrupted him. Oliver, you don't need to fly to see me. There's no need. And I don't want it either. Alicia, then are you still angry? If you're still angry, if you still care so much, why do you say it's already in the past? I almost laughed. Oliver, how clear do you need me to be? When I said everything was behind me, I meant I no longer care about what happened and I no longer care about you. He looked confused. What do you mean? I mean we broke up a long time ago. I looked at him calmly. Oliver, now do you finally understand? Chapter 15. I didn't know if Oliver was simply too arrogant or if I hadn't made myself clear enough, but he didn't return to his country. Instead, he waited for me at the university, every day. At first, I ignored him completely, treating him as if he were invisible. But soon, rumors began to spread around campus. They said I had a very handsome Oriental boyfriend. I was afraid the gossip would spiral out of control and reach Ryan's ears. It might upset him. After thinking it through carefully, I decided I had to speak seriously with Oliver. But before I could even open my mouth, Oliver pulled out a ring. "Alicia, I know exactly what you're thinking," he said. "What you want is marriage. What you need is security, right?" He grabbed my hand, trying to slip the ring onto my finger. "Let's get engaged first. You can decide when you want the wedding. How about that?" I pulled my hand away forcefully, and the ring clattered onto the table. The diamond was large, dazzling. I won't deny it, back when I loved him most, I had dreamed of this moment. But after all the arguments, the endless fights about intimacy, the jealousy over other girls, and most of all, after watching him kiss that freshman girl, my love and my illusions had long since vanished. "Oliver, I came only to tell you one more time," I said firmly. "It's over. Go back to your country, and please stop looking for me." Oliver suddenly seemed angry. "Alicia, enough already. I'm not going to force you into anything anymore. I agreed to marry you. What more do you want?" "Oliver, I'm already engaged." I met his gaze steadily. "So please leave me alone." "All right." Oliver stared at me for a long while, then suddenly laughed. "Stop joking, Alicia. Who could you possibly be engaged to? We just had a fight and suddenly you're engaged? Since when did you become so easy?" He looked at me with sarcasm. "Come on, Alicia, really?" "Believe it or not," I replied, "I've said everything I needed to say. If you keep harassing me at the university, I'll call the police." I picked up my bag and turned to leave. But Oliver grabbed my wrist. "Alicia, at least tell me, who are you engaged to?" He yanked me hard, making me stumble slightly. "We dated for 2 years. Even if it's over, I should know who you're with now." "I don't need your approval. Or is it that you think I don't have anyone at all? Are you accusing me of using your tricks, trying to make you jealous?" Honestly, I thought he was sick, seriously sick. "Oliver, I'm not as childish as you." "Then say his name." "You really want to know?" "Of course. My ex-fiancé is engaged. How could I not be curious?" I pointed to a business magazine on the nearby shelf. On the cover was Ryan. "It's him." Oliver followed my gaze, looked, and burst out laughing. "Alicia, at least make up something more believable. That's Ryan. Even your father has to bow to him." "I told you it's him. Believe it or not." Oliver's expression eased, his smile widening. "All right, Alicia. Enough with the jokes. Let's just go back to how we were, okay?" I looked at him, exhausted. Explaining further would be ridiculous. So I turned and walked away. Oliver seemed like he wanted to follow me, but his phone rang. After a few words, his face changed drastically, and he left in a hurry. I didn't know what had happened, but I let out a long sigh of relief. After Oliver's departure, the rumors at the university soon disappeared. Ryan kept calling and video chatting with me as always. Only then was I truly at peace. It seemed those silly rumors had never reached his ears. Chapter 16. Month after month, time passed. Ryan kept his promise, traveling to see me twice a month without fail. And Oliver, after that last time he came looking for me, he never appeared again. Only once did he try calling me from a friend's phone, but every time I heard his voice, I hung up immediately. When spring arrived, so did my birthday. Longing to see my 2 uncles, I decided to return home with Ryan for a few days. That night, during a family dinner, Ryan suddenly told my uncles that he wanted to register our marriage. I was a little surprised, but they were overjoyed. And deep in my heart, I felt no resistance at all. In fact, I felt happiness. We set the date for the marriage registration on my birthday and slowly began planning the wedding. The night before the registration, I arranged to meet my best friends. Ryan told me to enjoy one last carefree night with them because once we were married, he wouldn't allow me to stay out all night anymore. That evening, while dining out, we happened to run into some of Oliver's old friends. After dinner, we decided to go to a trendy nightclub. But as soon as I got out of the car, I saw Oliver. He was leaning against a vehicle, staring at me without blinking. The early spring wind in the capital was still icy. I pulled my coat tighter and walked past him without a glance. Oliver didn't try to stop me either. Inside, the place was noisy and chaotic, an atmosphere my friends and I couldn't stand. So after a short while, we decided to leave and find a quiet tea house instead. But just as I stood up, Oliver called out to me. Alicia, since you're back, don't return to France. I found it absurd and irritating. I ignored him and tried to leave, but once again, he blocked my way. I didn't throw these earrings away. He opened his palm. The diamond earrings still shone brightly. When I had first received them as a birthday gift, I had been so happy, though with a faint trace of sadness. Even so, I had worn them every day without taking them off. But when I finally decided to leave everything behind, I left those earrings in his apartment. These days I've been thinking a lot. You weren't wrong not to want intimacy before marriage. You weren't wrong not to give in during our last fight. I was the one who was wrong for provoking you. But, Alicia, all of that happened because I still loved you, because I still cared. Oliver pointed at his tie, and then showed me his cufflinks. Look, I still wear every day the things you gave me. Alicia, we were together for 2 years. Not 2 days, not 2 months. Deep down, you miss me too, don't you? I was sick of his excuses. And I knew very well he was someone used to winning, to having everything. He had never lost something he thought belonged to him. That was why he couldn't accept defeat, why he insisted so much. Talking about love or affection now felt cheap, superficial. But tomorrow I'm getting married. Oliver, you should move on too. Alicia, you can be angry, you can get engaged out of spite. But marriage isn't a game, Alicia. Don't ruin your life just to take revenge on me. I shoved his hand away firmly. Oliver, you're not that important. You stopped being important a long time ago. I looked at him one last time, serious and calm. Oliver, I would never gamble my future on someone who means nothing to me anymore. Perhaps it was the first time I saw such an expression on Oliver's face. He had always been proud, arrogant. Nothing ever seemed to affect him. Even when I cried during our fights, he would only frown slightly and light a cigarette. But now he just stood there in silence. Those eyes that had once been mischievous and carefree were now completely dark. If he felt pain or sorrow, how long it lasted was no longer my concern. Chapter 17. The day Ryan and I registered our marriage, we returned together to our new home. Some things happened naturally, as if guided by fate. My uncles had supported our union from the start. Ryan honored every tradition with seriousness and respect. Because of his care and commitment, my uncles who had once been worried ended up feeling at peace. It was then that I learned that after my mother's death, when my father remarried, Ryan had secretly intervened to help me. Without his help, it would have been very difficult for my uncles to ensure I received my inheritance. The house was warm and cozy with the heater running. Ryan helped me dry my hair, and I didn't know if it was because of the warmth or his closeness, but soon I was sweating and my cheeks flushed red. Ryan, can you tell me now why? He turned off the dryer, leaned close to my ear, and smiled. I'll tell you after our wedding night. Ryan, I glared at him angrily through the mirror. By then it'll be too late to regret it. So you still want to regret it? If you don't give me a good answer, my voice faded, because Ryan was already wrapping his arms around my waist and kissing me deeply. This kiss was different. It wasn't soft or restrained, it was intense, overwhelming, consuming. I felt like he was stealing all the air from my body. Ryan lifted me and set me down on the vanity table. He parted my legs, ran his fingers through my messy hair, and kissed behind my ear in the most sensitive spot. My body trembled uncontrollably, as if electrified. What do you want to do, Alicia? Cancel the wedding? Or sneak away and run? He whispered as he continued kissing my neck. I wanted to push him away, but it was useless. Finally, he captured my swollen lips again. Do you remember I told you I was afraid of scaring you? Yes, I whispered. But he kissed me even deeper, making my whole body tremble. The first time I saw you, you were 16, he said. 16, my mother was still alive then. I froze. Ryan held me tightly, caressing my back. You weren't even an adult yet, Alicia. I could only wait. Then your mother died, and you still weren't 18. I remember coming to your mother's funeral. I told you to cry as much as you needed, but to take care of your health. You grew up, but the moments were never right. Alicia, he whispered, I've been waiting for you all this time. Ryan held my face in his hands, wiping the tears from my cheeks one by one. Then I remembered through those years, my uncles had occasionally suggested arranged dates for me. But at that time, I had just lost my mother and was still too young. I never thought, Ryan said, that when you entered university, you'd fall in love with another boy. There were times I wanted to take you away from myself, but seeing you so happy at his side, I gave up on the thought. 2 whole years, Alicia, I had never endured such agony. Ryan lowered his gaze, staring at me in silence. His fingers brushed over my brows, my eyelids, tracing every inch of my face until they rested on the tears sliding down my cheek. Don't cry, Alicia. Ryan, then when you said you were afraid of scaring me, it was because you already loved me when I was 16? Ryan didn't answer. The truth was far more complex and there were things he could never confess to her. Forbidden, hidden feelings. He had dreamed of her countless times, committing unforgivable excesses in those dreams. But now the dream had become reality. She was truly in his arms. Yes, he murmured finally. I came to despise myself for it. I even went to see a psychologist. But isn't it normal for a teenager to have a first love? I said softly. Ryan let out a bitter laugh. But Alicia, I was 6 years older than you. At her age, love had been pure and innocent. His was possessive, fierce. I frowned. Yes, you're 6 years older than me. My friend says men start declining after 25. And you're already 28. I never finished the sentence. Ryan suddenly lifted me up. The world spun. I fell onto the soft bed and was immediately wrapped in his burning body. Alicia, he whispered huskily, don't just believe what you hear. Better test it yourself. Touch me, feel me. He guided my hand downward. My eyes flew wide open. Ryan, he laughed quietly at my expression. So, what do you think now of 28-year-old men? I tried to pull my hand away, but he held it tighter, leaning down to seal my lips with a deep, searing kiss. Alicia, he murmured, don't cry later. Because even if you do, I won't stop. But in the end it did stop. Just like at my mother's funeral, when my tears had melted his heart. Now, under him, one single tear from me was enough to make him pause, gathering me into his arms and comforting me for a long, long time. That night seemed endless, as if dawn would never come. But the next day vanished in an instant. When I woke, it was already late. And the moment I opened my eyes, Ryan lowered his head and kissed me softly. It's time to get up, he said, or else your uncles will come looking for us. I laughed with my eyes closed, stretching my arms toward him. Ryan leaned down and carried me in his arms. My little Alicia, he whispered, as soft, as sweet as your name. Do you like it? I dared to ask. Before he could answer, I buried my face in his chest in embarrassment. Ryan walked steadily toward the bathroom, carrying me. It took him a moment to respond, but when he did, his voice was deep and tender. I like it. I love it. I always have. He had loved me for so long before I ever knew it. In my pain and in my joy, there had always been someone silently caring for me. I didn't know what the future would bring, but in that moment, in that instant, I felt absolute happiness and fulfillment. Chapter 18. On the day of my wedding with Ryan, Oliver's parents attended the ceremony. But Oliver did not come. When I saw his parents, there was a moment of awkwardness. Still, I didn't want to drag the past resentment I held toward Oliver into how I treated them. After all, when Oliver and I were together, they had always treated me politely, even if deep down they hadn't fully approved of me. Ryan, however, was clearly cold. Their faces showed nervousness. Oliver's family was no longer what it once had been, and being on bad terms with Ryan would only make things worse for them. Looking into Oliver's mother's anxious eyes, I remembered how, when my own mother died, she had come to the funeral. She had embraced me, weeping with genuine grief. Remembering that, I couldn't be cruel. I tugged lightly at Ryan's sleeve. Only then did he soften his expression a little and allow them to present the wedding gift they had brought. While I was changing dresses during the reception, I received a message from an unknown number. Alicia, congratulations on your marriage. I knew it was from Oliver. After a moment's thought, I replied simply, thank you. A long time passed before another message came. If that night during the dare game I had kissed you, wouldn't we have stayed together? This time I didn't reply. Instead, I deleted and blocked the number. Because in this world, there are no what-ifs. And I was truly grateful for his madness that night. If not for that, perhaps I would never have felt such disappointment. I might not have decided to go abroad, nor accepted the blind date with Ryan arranged by my uncles. And I would never have discovered that to be loved fully and unconditionally is something so wonderful. Alicia, are you ready? Ryan opened the door. I turned to him and smiled with all my heart.